Okay, so let's talk about the air you breathe indoors. We just kind of assume it's clean, right? That it's controlled and safe. But what if I told you that the very systems keeping you comfortable are getting a massive upgrade? We're talking about an invisible shield that's actively fighting off germs. Let's dive in. So let's just start with a really basic question. When you're in the office, at home, wandering through an airport, what are you actually breathing in? We spend something like 90% of our lives inside, but we almost never stop to think about the quality of that air. Now check this out. This number comes straight from the EPA. It shows that the level of pollutants inside can be 2 to 5 times higher than the air outside. Yeah, you heard that right. The air inside a building can literally be more polluted than on a busy city street. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. So where is all this stuff coming from? Well, ironically, the source can be the very HVAC systems, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning that we depend on to be comfortable. These huge, complex networks of ducts and coils, they can turn into the perfect breeding grounds for all sorts of microbes. And the real heart of the problem is this stuff called biofilm. The easiest way to think about it, it's like plaque on your teeth, but for an entire building's air system. It's the slimy, sticky layer of bacteria, mold, and yeah, even viruses that just loves to grow on all the internal parts, especially in those dark, damp spots. This gunk doesn't just spread contaminants through the air. It actually chokes the system and makes it way less efficient. And believe me, this isn't just a theory. In places where the stakes are incredibly high, like hospitals, this is a massive concern. Contaminated surfaces, and that includes the inside of HVAC systems, are a known cause of healthcare-associated infections, or HAIs. We're talking about pathogens that can just sit there and survive for months, creating this constant risk of transmission. But as more people have become aware of this problem, the demand for a real solution has just exploded. There are all these market forces now pushing for a new kind of protection, that invisible shield for our air systems. So let's take a look at what's really driving this shift. This isn't just coming from one place. It's really a perfect storm of different factors. First, public awareness about indoor air quality is at an all-time high. Then you've got new, tough regulations like ASHRAE Standard 241 that are basically mandating cleaner air. We've got hard data from hospitals showing these technologies can slash infection rates by up to 40%. And then, on top of all of that, you have this huge push from green building certifications and the simple goal of being more energy efficient. And just to give you an idea of the scale of one of those drivers, the green building market is absolutely massive. It's projected to hit $103 billion by 2026. And a huge piece of building green is making sure you have healthy indoor air, which puts solutions like antimicrobial coatings right at the top of the list. Okay, so beyond all the health concerns and the new rules, there's a really powerful economic argument happening here. For the people who own and run these buildings, using these protective coatings isn't just another cost, it's actually an investment that pays for itself and then some. Remember that slimy biofilm we were talking about? Well, according to research from ASHRAE, HVAC systems with coils that are all gunked up with that stuff can use anywhere from 17 to 35% more energy. They just have to work so much harder to do their job. So, cleaning and protecting those coils, that translates directly into real energy savings. And here's an awesome real-world example for you. There was a pilot project at Singapore's Changi Airport, and they found that by using these advanced antimicrobial coatings, they cut their annual maintenance costs by a whopping $120,000 per terminal. That's a huge operational saving. You're replacing filters less, you're cleaning less, it all adds up. And the financial wins just keep on coming. Commercial insurance companies are now starting to offer premium discounts, somewhere in the 5 to 7% range, for buildings that protect their HVAC systems. Why? It's simple. They know this tech reduces the risk of having to pay out on expensive mold-related liability claims. And for certain industries, the stakes are just astronomical. I'm talking about data centers. They need absolutely perfect climate control, 24/7. An HVAC failure caused by corrosion or contamination can lead to downtime that costs, get this, an estimated $9,000 every single minute. In that world, protecting your HVAC system isn't just a good idea, it's an absolutely critical investment. So, we have the problem, and we have this powerful demand for a solution. But what is the solution exactly? Well, The technology itself has gone through this huge evolution, and what we have now are smarter, safer, and way more effective coatings. This slide just shows the leap perfectly. The early epoxy-based coatings, they were a pretty clumsy tool. They were thick, they were bulky, and they could actually reduce the airflow in an HVAC system by as much as 18%. That was a huge problem. But the modern formulations, often using nanotechnology, totally different story. They have less than a 3% effect on airflow while still hitting 99.9% microbial inhibition. It is a night and day difference. And we've also moved way past the one-size-fits-all approach. The best coatings today are highly specialized. They're not just some general-purpose paint. We're talking about complex formulas that have been engineered specifically for the tough environment inside an HVAC system, with the constant airflow, the moisture, and all the temperature swings. So to make this a little more tangible, let's look at an example. A product like VireXbuster is a perfect illustration of this new generation of tech. It's engineered in Germany, and it's designed specifically to be easy to apply and to give active protection against viruses, bacteria, and mold for up to a whole year. But you don't have to just take a company's word for it. The real credibility here comes from third-party validation, and this data really speaks for itself. What you're seeing are results from independent lab tests following super strict ISO standards, showing reduction rates of 99.9% against coronaviruses and over 99.99% against nasty bacteria like E. coli. This is the hard data that proves this stuff actually works. So if we sum it all up, the new standard for these coatings really offers a whole package of benefits. We're talking long-lasting protection, efficacy that's been verified by respected groups like the Fraunhofer Institute, and really important safety certifications like being rated safe for skin contact. Plus, they're often made without controversial stuff like nanosilver, which addresses a lot of modern health and environmental concerns. All of this, the demand, the money, the technology, it's all pointing in exactly the same direction. We are literally watching the creation of a brand new standard for the air we breathe indoors, and it's changing the future of how we manage our spaces. This timeline really captures just how fast this is all moving. Back in 2020, the return on investment for these coatings took over 7 years. Okay, now fast forward just 4 years, and that ROI is down to 4.5 years. So what happened? Well, you had these major regulatory pushes from the CDC and ASHRAE that are turning this technology from a nice-to-have into a must-have. And maybe the biggest signal that this is becoming totally mainstream is what's happening in the supply chain. The big HVAC manufacturers aren't waiting for people to add coatings later. No, they are now offering components that come pre-coated with antimicrobial protection straight from the factory. That makes adopting this tech super easy and way more cost-effective. This quote from an HVAC engineering director just says it all. Having proof of a product's safety and environmental impact, things like a declare label or an environmental product declaration, that's no longer a bonus feature. He says it's table stakes. It's the absolute minimum you need just to get in the game. Which really leaves us with one final pretty important question to think about. We think of things like running water and electricity as basic requirements for any building. With all these trends coming together, are we on the edge of adding clean, actively protected air to that list? Is this about to become the new non-negotiable standard for every single space we live and work in?